The DynaNotes AmeriMatch card decks are assigned in 3 different ways in the Grade 8 Social Studies program and the Modern U.S. History eligible TEKS program. Let's take a closer look at what each of those games entails. This Early Republic to Jackson card deck, according to the pacing chart, is going to be set up with 4 to 5 students per group following the instruction card instructions, except with the exception that each student will turn up 4 cards per turn. So here we are, here's our instruction card, and it says to shuffle the 14 pairs of AmeriMatch cards. So one thing you want to do is be sure that the answer key has been removed and that the instruction card is set aside as well before you start shuffling. Also, when you shuffle, you want to make sure you keep the cards oriented in the same direction. That way, the cards will still all be face up instead of some of them being upside down. Okay, so the first set of the instructions is to shuffle the 14 pairs of AmeriMatch cards. The second thing says to spread the cards out face down on a flat surface. And here we want to make an array. So we'll simply begin to deal out the cards. So there are 28 playing cards in the Early Republic to Jackson deck. So here I've dealt out 4 rows of 7 cards each. The instruction card then says the first player turns over 2 cards. If the cards match, card and corresponding answer, the player keeps the cards and gets another turn. So this is essentially a game of memory, a matching game. But of course, the cards aren't elephant and elephant or heart and heart, but rather it's cards that match each other in terms of a description or a question and the answer, if you will. So remember, the exception in the pacing chart calls for the student to turn over 4 cards at a time. So the first student might turn over Cherokee, card M, Andrew Jackson, and industrialization. So amazingly, because I didn't look at these ahead of time, I believe I might have a match. Effects of blank: urbanization, high demand for low-skilled labor and decline of cottage industry, increased immigration. And the question says, enabled by free enterprise and new technologies, what caused the changes listed above? Or you could say, what belongs in the blank? And I think industrialization is a good answer. So I would get to keep these cards and get another turn. Now, a student may question whether I really got that answer right. And in this case, we can turn and see card M. The answer is, in fact, industrialization. So that was a correct answer. Now, I'll try to remember that Andrew Jackson is here, Cherokee is here, and give it another go. Okay, well, I better look at this. Native American events during the Jacksonian era. Indian Removal Act, Worcester v. Georgia, Trail of Tears. Which Native American tribe refused to leave its territory under the Indian Removal Act and was then cruelly force-marched west by U.S. troops as ordered by President Andrew Jackson, known as the Trail of Tears? Now that's Cherokee, and I know I've turned that card up. I think, is it this one? Yes, okay, so I've already got another match, and I still get 2 turns again. So let's peel up this card. I have a Thomas Jefferson card, and what famous Supreme Court case? That's not a match. So those were my 3rd and 4th cards from my 2nd turn. But I had gotten another match in my 2nd turn, so I would get to turn over 4 again. As soon as I turn over 4 cards and I do not have a match, then it's the next student's turn, and of course they have the benefit of having seen some cards already turned over. I will tell you, if you follow the instruction card and you do only 2 cards at a time, this game can take a long time to finish. If you, on the other hand, turn over 4 cards at a time, then it moves at a better pace, but it's still interesting and fun and challenging. Honestly, we got really lucky to match card M from the very beginning. But that was a good demonstration. So just take turns, and any time that 4 cards are turned up, and there is no match, then they're just turned back down and it's the next player's turn. Play continues until all the cards are matched. But of course, a player can also challenge a match. So if card M had not matched industrialization as checked by the answer key card, this player would have to turn them back over and it would become the next player's turn. The player that ends the game with the most matched cards is the winner. You can play this game with 2 students, 3 students, 4 students, up to 5 students at the most. You can also take multiple students and divide them into 2 teams so that you have 2 teams of 2, let's say, or a team of 2 playing against a team of 3. So there's a lot of ways to use the cards in this matching type exercise. The important thing is to build out an orderly array. Now, some other options to make the game even easier. You can see we have different kinds of cards. So what you could do when you deal out the cards is to put all of the cards which are answer cards in one area or in the top 2 rows, and then put all the cards that are question cards, such as this one, lettered cards, let's say, in the bottom 2 rows. And that way students can decide whether they want to pick 1 from here and 3 from here to try to find its match, or how they'll at least have a little bit of organization to how the array was put together. So now let's use the Progressive Era and Rise of World Power AmeriMatch card deck to examine how to set up and complete the Cooperative Competitive Group Speed Match with 4 to 5 students per team. Now, cooperative and competitive games are excellent because they encourage cooperation among students, and certainly students listen to each other much more intently than they listen to their teachers. But you still have the challenge of winning a game, which is truly engaging to a lot of students, but it's not individual versus individual, it's team versus team. So this game is pretty easy to understand. Each team will have its own card deck. So one team has one deck of cards, the other has the other deck of cards, and of course the answer key and the instruction card should be set aside, and they really should not be visible at all. I just have this here for grins so that you can remember we have it. But again, you're going to shuffle the playing cards, and instead of dealing out an array the way the instruction card describes, both teams are going to get their playing cards out, and on the count of 3, they're going to flip them over and try to get them together as quickly as they can. So you can see that the students are going to want to have some space, and they're going to need to work together to figure out which cards, of course the answer key should be hidden, go together. And in order to do that, they're going to need to get them dealt out so they can see them, and then start to find the match. Alfred T. Mahan, he's the one that wrote the book. Here we go. This is a match, okay? The influence of sea power upon history. So that we're going to take and put aside. Stan Pat likely supported what 1898 event that was a turning point in the U.S.? That would be the Spanish-American War. We've got another match, and so on and so forth until all of the cards are matched. Now the other team is madly trying to match all the cards together at the same time and do so faster. When a team has finished matching all of their cards, then they can declare that they are done. They will wait for the other team to finish trying to match all of their cards on the other deck. And when that team is done, then they would come to they would switch sides, and with their answer keys, check and see whether the other team indeed correctly matched all the cards. If both teams correctly matched all their cards, then the team that finished first is the winner. If the team that finished first had some mismatches, then the other team, the first team to correctly match all its cards, is the winner. Of course, if both teams made mistakes, then you can figure out how to best score that situation or give another try. Now, let's take a look at Boom to Bust and FDR's New Deal. This AmeriMatch card deck is assigned here in the pacing chart. And it says set up the 1, 2, 3 down game. If you're wondering what in the world the 1, 2, 3 down game is, remember that the back of your pacing chart has further explanation of all the materials, including considerable space given to an explanation of how to use the card decks. The 1, 2, 3 down game is described right here. So this again is a game with two teams. Each team draws 5 cards from the pile, keeping them face down. Second, both teams count 1, 2, 3 and turn up their cards. So we're on this team, and here are our 5 cards. What does it say next? The first team to find a matching pair places it face up on the table and says down. So let's see if we have any connection here. What caused families to abandon their farms in the Central Plains states and migrate during the 1930s? So this actually is going to be the Dust Bowl, not the Great Depression. That was kind of close. The end of the trial did not end the battle of evolution. Okay. This event highlighted the cultural divide between small-town rural America and city dwellers. Okay, so that's going to be the Scopes Monkey trial. We have a Red Scare card. See what this one. Governmental disregard for property rights soon leads to disregard for other rights. Okay, opposition to the New Deal came from all sides, who argued tirelessly for it, and in doing so expanded the role of First Lady. So clearly, Red Scare and Great Depression are not answers to those questions. So our team has not done very well here. We can check the other teams. Let's see, well, they have the Eleanor Roosevelt card. Let's see this campaign promise. America's present need is not heroics but healing, not nostrums but normalcy. Okay, so this is the return to normalcy. FDR's 1932 landslide victory showed people wanted government to fix the economy and help people, not laissez-faire. What was FDR's plan for new laws and agencies called? Hint, the CCC eventually put over 3 million men to work. The New Deal. And then here's a question about specific New Deal legislation. And of course that answer is not going to be Eleanor Roosevelt. So I think we have a match here with the New Deal in card L. So if I was on this other team, what I would do is find the match and say down, and put the match down. And when you say down, both teams have to turn their cards back over. Now you check to see, is the match really a match? Well, card L is the New Deal, so that is a match. Now you're on to the next round. Both teams, whether they found a match or did not find a match, add 2 more cards. Now, of course, they're not seeing each other's cards. So then you count 1, 2, 3, you lift it up, and you see if you have any matches. What happens if a team does not have a match? If it is not a match, the team loses a point and the other team resumes looking for a match. A round ends when a team gets a match or both teams give up. Teams keep unmatched cards and add newly drawn cards each round. Keep all cards face down until the 1, 2, 3 count. When no more cards are left in the middle, a team can draw any 2 cards from the other team. And the game ends when all cards are matched. The team with the most points or matches wins the game.